All right. Democrats in Wisconsin poised to go full socialist tonight. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Another primary night. Polls closing now, right now, in South Carolina in the special election for Senator Lindsey Graham's seat. That Republican primary will be interesting. And it's also a big one in the state of Wisconsin. A communist posing as a Democrat socialist, as so many of them do, poised to take the Democrat nomination to be the governor of the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, in the Midwest. Francesca Hong, born to Korean parents, somehow failed to process the lessons of their peninsula. She somehow thinks life's better in North Korea than in South Korea. She can't be too bright. Somehow blue-collar Democrat voters in Midwest Wisconsin have been captivated by a tiny anti-capitalist Korean American who's very angry, who despises our culture, despises all of our favorite holidays, despises the West. And for some reason, Democrats cannot wait to vote for people who despise our entire way of life. Candidates looking to end Americanism, end capitalism, end policing, end public safety, end prosperity. They can't wait to vote for these people. Francesca Hong today answering questions about her radical ideology just after voting for herself.
How do you define democratic socialism?
One that puts people first, where we have our local governments funded. They can fix potholes. They can make sure that we have great schools. The things that we are fighting for, universal child care, the fully funding public schools.
Have you ever heard somebody try to marginalize their radicalism more than that soundbite right there? On primary day, of course. Socialism is just fixing potholes and having great schools. Oh, that's it? Well, I'm a socialist too. Quick question, why are the roads and schools so much better in red states if socialism is fixing potholes and better schools? Why is that? What a mystery. Of course, this angry little woman has no idea what she's talking about. She's just lying. Socialism is actually handing the private sector of this country over to the federal government. The private sector that's worth $20 or $30 trillion a year. The one thing that makes this country great is capitalism and competition. The reason our houses are so nice, our products are so bountiful. We have beautiful malls, we have nice clothes, our food is so good. All the things that make this country great, that make you want to live here, that make it so good. Socialism removes the driver for all of that and gives it over to the government to rapidly destroy. So yes, when these people call themselves socialists, you need to understand exactly what that is, because it certainly ain't better health care and better potholes. Imagine if there was one burger place in this country, U.S. government burger, and it was run by the same people that run the DMV. What would that burger taste like? What's your favorite burger? I've got like 10 favorite burgers, and they're all amazing in a different way because they're all competing for every guy like me to buy them. We all know how much or how good the U.S. government burger would be. It would be terrible. But this country has a lot of stupid people, and they all get to vote, sadly. Take a listen to one of them on CNN.
I voted for Francesca Hong.
Okay.
Yes, and so it's nice to see someone who's like me to be in the office, and she's a single mom. I'm not a single mom, but I was at one point, and she's a part of the working class. Mm-hmm. She's a woman who understands women's issues. And also, she's a breath of fresh air.
Oh, so you're voting for another Asian chick. Okay. Thanks for doing the critical thinking, man. By the way, just real quick side note. Francesca Hong, as part of the working class, she opened a restaurant, it failed, and her parents paid off all the debt. Working class. Elect a leader in your state who wants your incompetent government to take over the private sector because she looks like you and groceries are expensive, was the messaging of that woman on CNN. Brilliant. Francesca Hong was asked today about the well-documented rapid slide from socialism into communism, something that seems to happen about every time socialism is tried, and we got to see more of her brilliance.
Voters who fear that this democratic socialism could turn into communism, what would you want them to know?
No. This is a state where we still have a $2.33 tip minimum wage and $7.25 minimum wage. I think it's going to be pretty hard to turn that into socialism soon, but what we can do with this campaign is make sure that we're fighting for the policies that put working class people first.
Again, she's marginalizing the living hell out of her agenda. You should have heard her before she ran for office. Oh, the minimum wage is $7.25 is your answer to socialism and communism. That's the answer. Here's a reality check they don't ever want to admit if we want to talk about the minimum wage, which is what she wants to talk about it. The minimum wage is one of the most exclusionary ideas government has ever created. Like it or not everybody's work is worth $15 or $20 an hour, which is where they want the minimum wage, which is like, $40 or $1,000 a year, 40, 50 grand in some cases is what they want. So the moment you skyrocket minimum wage, as they will do, you will force millions of people in this country onto the dole. They will have no job because their labor is not worth that much money. You're taking their jobs from them through this grand cause that you think is so good. You're going to take their jobs from them, which of course is her goal and their goal. The more people on welfare, the more power they have. That's why they destroy jobs. Putting working people first by making sure they no longer have to work is the real plan. Francesca Hong learned this lesson firsthand, actually as the failed former owner of a ramen restaurant, a story that you know. As a gimmick to virtue signal to her communist friends, she overpaid her waitstaff when she opened a restaurant, and they swiftly went out of business. But again, don't worry, her parents paid off all those debts, so she really didn't have anything to risk, and she probably knew she wanted to get into politics anyway. It was probably just a gimmick of some kind. And now she wants to take that experience to Madison, Wisconsin, and bankrupt the entire state in the same manner. The funniest part is Hong still poses as though she still runs that ramen restaurant and that she's still of the working class, as the CNN voter actually believes. Despite the fact that she went out of business years ago, here's her campaign ad.
It's so stressful to get by these days, and I know a lot about stress. I work in restaurants. I started in this kitchen 15 years ago, and you might recognize what's across the street. A lot of people in that building don't get why it's so hard to get by right now. Working hard doesn't mean you can always keep up. One wrong step can lay you out flat. This is by design.
Yeah, that's the messaging, right? In reality, she hates whiteness, she hates capitalism, she hates the West, she hates all the holidays, she hates Christianity, she hates everything about this country with a passion. She's a very angry little woman. But look at her ads and the way she talks. It's all a scam. So authentic. About as real as her excuses for all the horrible things that she has said in the past. An angry Marxist who hates pretty much everything, realizing now, though, that she's going to need thousands of votes from people that don't hate this country. So she's on her best behavior. Apparently, she no longer wants to cancel white supremacist Thanksgiving.
Actually trying to become a sports journalist when I first went to college. So I learned then you have some hot takes, sometimes bad takes on Twitter, and I let my feelings out into the world. And right now, as governor, what I'm most serious about are the issues that voters are telling me they want solutions for.
Oh, just a bad take. Hate white people, hate America, hate everything, bad take. That's all. Isn't it obvious that this entire movement, though, everything she is, all of these people from AOC down the list, that whole socialist movement that's taken over this party is driven by a deep hatred, not just for this country, but for all of us who live here and defend it. They hate us. She doesn't just hate America, she hates you. But now she needs your vote. So now she's totally cool with American holidays and culture. And oh, by the way, she no longer wants to defund the police and let your family be dragged out of their nice house in a Marxist anarchist revolution.
Your 2020 posts supporting defunding the police, which in a separate post you said, quote, exists to uphold white supremacy. I'm wondering how your views on policing have evolved since 2020.
My views have only become stronger in that I'm serious about public safety, and I will not abolish the police. My views are that people are struggling right now and need basic needs met, and I want to focus on stopping violent crime.
Coward. Say what you really think. Say it. Grow a pair and say what you really think, coward. AOC said yesterday, woke one was crazy, right? We had fun with that. Woke One was crazy. It wasn't crazy. It was just these people finally saying how they really felt. It was really who they are, unafraid of the consequences. Now they're back to concealing it all, right? Because they think they have a moment here because Trump's pissed everybody off, at least on their side, to the point where they think that the socialists have a chance. You need the fury of someone like Trump to make people go crazy enough to lead them down that road, to go towards socialism is what they're counting on. Hoping we're a dumb enough society to let them have power because there's going to be so much frustration after 12 years of Trump driving the left crazy in this country. That's the hope. In Michigan, we see the same from Abdul El Sayed running for Senate. Michigan, another Midwest country, Midwest state. El Sayed has been furiously deleting posts on X, including his hatred for fireworks. Fireworks. The Second Amendment and the 4th of July. He's getting rid of those as fast as he can. Get all this out of here. Also deleting posts revealing he wants to defund the police and fully destroy our stable first world nation as well. Anybody that ever said defund the police hates the country. You can count on that. So make a list. Can he delete enough of our memory to win Michigan in November, to win a Senate seat in Michigan? His heart, of course, lies in Dearborn, a suburb of Detroit that looks like Karachi. Here's what he thinks of Mackinac Island in the north of Michigan, a place that actually looks like the United States.
I hate Mackinac so much. It's funny because, like, if we win, this is going to be the, like, summer home. I'm just going to be like, every time I've ever come here, I've hated it. Why am I here?
Why do you hate it? Because it's white and nice? And you want to destroy everything in this country that's white and nice? Yeah. Scott Walker, former governor of Wisconsin, joins us now. Mercedes Schlapp, senior fellow at CPAC. Good to have you both. Scott, what happened to the Democrat voters in your state that they are captivated by this angry little communist?
Well, it's exactly it. Three things. One, the Democrat votes since I was in office have gone dramatically, radically to the left. Secondly, and we warned about this for years at Young America's Foundation, liberal indoctrination on campuses like the University of Wisconsin is actually having an impact. And third, this whole issue of the cost of living, not about burritos, but about housing. It's why Tom Tiffany was wise yesterday to come out with a conservative plan to cut red tape and take about $90,000 off the cost of a new home. That's a real issue as well. So there's a lot of angry people. The problem with Francesca Hung, as you mentioned, is more than that. Yeah. It's once she gets past tonight, she's not just crazy, she's dangerously crazy.
Yeah, she really is. And Mercedes, just to reemphasize that, here's a soundbite from 2021.
We have a lot of internal reckoning to do, but that it's important to see it through the lens of toxic white supremacy culture that is ingrained in this country's history. Racism exists, that we do live in a white supremacy culture.
She hates the country, she hates the culture, she hates the people, she hates white people, she hates capitalism, she hates a lot of stuff. What really irritates me the most, though, is how fake she is in this moment. How she's out there answering questions and pretending to be a moderate Democrat. The phoniness bothers me more than anything, Mercy.
The phoniness, and I would say the ignorance. I think that's a big part of Francesca Hong's approach here, because the reality is she has no experience. She doesn't understand how public policy, when it's implemented, the impact that it's going to have in the state. I got to tell you, I miss the days of Governor Scott Walker in Wisconsin. I spent a lot of time in Wisconsin during the last couple of presidential campaigns. And I will tell you, the people of Wisconsin, they want to make sure that they have lower taxes, as Governor Walker mentioned, housing affordability, a strong economy, jobs in their state. And here you have this leftist, this socialist who has talked about abolishing prisons. God only knows she wants to end Thanksgiving. She is the most out of touch candidate. And I got to tell you, it's so alarming to watch how you've seen this college educated group of voters back her up. But I got to tell you, I really do believe Wisconsin will turn red again. We're going to win this governor's race. I really believe the people of Wisconsin will reject this radical candidate who not even Bernie Sanders and AOC are endorsing her.
And that's my next question to Scott. Why are Bernie and AOC not endorsing this woman? Because they would have broken through a wall to endorse her a year ago.
Well, I think they've seen her start to fall apart. And remember, one of her big selling points, particularly to younger voters, was her authenticity. I don't agree with her, but as you saw in some of those clips, she was boldly wrong. But now that she's starting to backtrack, cancel Thanksgiving. No, I cook for Thanksgiving, but some people are troubled by it. Now it's her favorite holiday. Next week she'll be in a Thanksgiving outfit. This is just unhinged.
Yeah.
But remember, this is a state that's the closest swing state in America. This is a state where, unfortunately, in the suburbs of Milwaukee, there's still a lot of TDS out there. I think in the end, the tone's got to be the key factor. The Tiffany campaign, Tom's doing a great job.
Yeah.
He's a steady Eddie, gets the job done. Contrast that with videos of her dropping the F-bomb every other phrase. And I think Mercy's right. There's a lot of just swing voters here who say, I'm not comfortable with that.
Right. And Mercy, she's also, I guess, pro-pedophile, which is, when you talk about the people that are the most socially left, they all seem to agree on this one. She voted against making grooming a felony in her state. Making grooming of kids a felony. And for some reason, you find time and time again that these people, the radical left, anything that stabilizes and protects our country, protects our society, makes us strong, protects people, protects kids, they inherently reject all of those things.
Right. And then you see, for example, what we saw in the state of Massachusetts, where they passed one of the most extreme pieces of legislation that was signed by the governor, allowing abortion till the moment of birth, basically till late-term abortion. This is where you know that America could be losing its moral compass when you have these extreme and inhumane politicians in office. And, I just know, spending time in Wisconsin, I just don't believe the people of Wisconsin want to embrace this extremism. Yes, she's doing well in this primary, but I got to tell you,
the election.
One thing we've learned about Bernie Sanders is they don't want to get close to her because she is not vetted and doesn't know how to handle the messaging on many of these topics.
That's an interesting, okay, so that's the reason. That makes sense. Mercy, Scott Walker, thanks to you both. We appreciate it. We will watch this election tonight. I think she's probably got it, but November will be very exciting. All right, on this primary night, Newsmax correspondent Andrew Kraft is in Heartland, Wisconsin, at the headquarters of Congressman Tom Tiffany, who will likely be the Republican nominee. We'll find out tonight for Wisconsin Governor. Andrew.
Yeah, Rob, good to be with you and good evening here. We're in deep red Waukesha County. We spent really the last several days, though, in that blue dot, Dane County, that comprises Madison. We're at this polling location behind me. And so a little under 2 hours to go here before the polls close. But I caught up with a voter who was leaving after he cast his ballot. He told me he's worried that the state is creeping towards socialism. Listen to what he told me.
We're only 250 years into this. This is an experiment. It's still at this point, and it's important we keep our eyes clear and stay focused on what real liberty is all about and freedom's about. And I've been to Cuba. I've looked at I've been there. I loved it, loved the place. But and you look around the country, there's no good socialism happening around the world.
And now, Rob, since I've been on the ground here, one of the observations I've made about the perceived feebleness of the moderate establishment wing of the Democratic Party was that David Crowley, Francesca Hong's main challenger, he's down about 20 points in the polls to her going into tonight. His supporters, his campaign, even Governor Tony Evers here, who backed Crowley, very reluctant, very hesitant to attack her directly at a rally they had Monday night in Madison. They didn't even name check her or reference her by name, but they're all getting together tomorrow, 3 times, 3 events. Once the Democratic slate is set, and it's a unity party going forward. That is the byword going into tomorrow, whoever the candidates are, unity. Rob?
Well, you can't go after the minority woman in the Democrat Party. That's not allowed, even if she's a communist. Andrew Kraft, good to see you. Thanks so much. Next, the Trump plane swap in Turkey. This wild story to avoid an assassination attempt. We're going to lay it all out for you. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee joins us to talk about it coming up next, that and Iran. And then later in News from the Left, liberal ladies in Massachusetts rejoice. You can now kill a baby until birth.
you're dangerous.
A very interesting place to be right now. It's been 35 days, as you can see on the counter here behind me, since Nicolas Maduro, the leader of this country, was taken by Delta forces.
Because you're honest.
You don't get political. I don't think actors should.
Thank you. So break the glass.
And I guess this didn't sit too well with one of the Schmitt heads on Newsmax.
What the FCC is supposed to regulate, ABC breaks that law every single night. That is not a comedy show. That is propaganda.
Watch Rob Schmitt weeknights.
Most people call leaf filter when their gutters are clogged and they notice one of the many issues that can bring. You can get ahead of costly damage by protecting your home's gutters today.
Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
When Saturday rolls around, I don't want to jump through hoops to watch college football. Good thing DirecTV makes it easy to keep up with my favorite college teams. No hopping between apps or channels.
Stream college football without the hurdles on DirecTV.
For years, I was hiding my drinking. I'm the type of drinker that I don't just have one. I didn't want to feel that urge anymore. That's what brought me to Oar Health. I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband. I just have a more grounded and present life, thanks to Oar Health.
Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
Whether it's care before or after school, or a sitter for date night, you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at care.com.
Feeling winded and short of breath when you should be enjoying life? Your days are made for more than this. And if you find yourself stopping more and more to catch your breath, you could be experiencing what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency. Don't let shortness of breath ruin your day. Give yourself a boost with Boost Oxygen. A few deep breaths of Boost Oxygen is all you need to help combat the negative effects of what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency, so you can get back to doing the things you love. Boost Oxygen contains pure supplemental oxygen that is safe for daily use and comes in a portable, lightweight canister without a prescription.
Now I live life on my terms. With Boost Oxygen, I am unstoppable.
Get all-natural 5-star respiratory support with Boost Oxygen. Get Boost Oxygen at these fine retailers.
All right, welcome back. Pretty incredible story here. An assassination threat from Iran against the president reportedly triggered a covert operation to conceal his location as he was traveling abroad recently. It is a crazy story. It was reported by the Washington Post. It has not been denied by the White House, which is important. Trump apparently flew secretly from Turkey on an alternate military aircraft while the White House told everyone else that he was aboard Air Force One, adding that the operation was carried out unbeknownst to journalists and even some White House staffers who believed that they were all on the same plane with the president, and they were not. Numerous people participated in this deception, apparently, some unwittingly, they said. This all happened as Trump departed the NATO summit. Remember this last month when he was in Turkey, in Ankara, Turkey? Trump was set to travel then to England to visit our troops at Mildenhall Air Force Base in the UK. At the time, he posted on Truth Social informing the public he would be taking the old Air Force One plane from Ankara to the UK, and he was not going to be flying on the new one gifted by Qatar because he wanted troops at Mildenhall to tour that plane before he got there. That was the excuse, right? The Washington Post reports, though, in Ankara, Trump boarded the old jumbo jet in view of television cameras, which you're seeing right here. That's him getting on the old Air Force One. He was then secretly moved off the plane minutes later to a smaller American jet, an Air Force C-32A, and they used the catering truck. You know the catering truck? They wheel up to the side of the plane. They put all the food on it. They snuck him onto the catering truck and took him off Air Force One after he got on camera. Now, here's a picture of the catering truck from the other side of the plane. You can see it there. That's what he got into. It has a little lift on top, takes it up. He got onto that, and then they shuttled him off. While Trump was reportedly in this container with a couple aides, he was taken to that smaller plane. As the Washington Post points out, that made Air Force One a decoy with media and even White House staffers on board of a plane that didn't hold the president. After landing in the UK, the magic trick happens again. Trump gets off that same Air Force One as though he was on it on the entire time, and nobody knew a thing. Now, at this point, the Washington Post reports they cannot figure out how he got back on to Air Force One from the C-32A after landing. When Trump finally departed England to head back to Washington, D.C., he traveled on the new Air Force One, the Qatari jet, and took questions from reporters. That's right here. One asked why they had to close their blinds during travel, which was unusual. And they asked if it was because of an Iranian threat. And the reason is, yes, it was. Here's how the president responded to it.
Because of the sleazebags that we have to deal with. They didn't ask me to close mine, but if they did, I would have done it. No, these are sick people.
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force One?
Well, I have a threat all the time. I'm number one on their list before you. But if I go, you go, right?
But was there a specific threat today?
Perhaps someday you want to change professions.
One day, if I go, you go. Interesting stuff. The U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, joins us now. Mr. Ambassador, good to see you. The threat apparently was the surface-to-air missiles, the shoulder rockets that the Iranians could have had, and they could have been hiding out, I guess, somewhere in Turkey waiting for that moment. Your reaction to hearing that story, and maybe you knew before anybody else. I'm sure maybe you did.
Well, here's what I can tell you. If the president was used in that catering truck, he was the first one to get whatever snacks he wanted as he transferred to the other plane. It is really something a lot of people may not fully understand, but the president is obviously the most targeted person in the world. The number one job of the Secret Service is to protect him, whatever that takes to protect the president. What they did was a masterful operation. It fooled everybody, and that is why it was effective. I've heard some people complaining, well, he shouldn't have somehow fooled the reporters. Well, what was he going to do? Tell them that he was taking a different plane? It was all about the security for the president. It was a brilliant plan, and it was executed flawlessly. And I think every American ought to be grateful that the Secret Service did their job, and they did it well. And yes, there are threats against the president from Iran. They continue all the time. This particular case, the Israeli Mossad was one of the reasons that they knew that the plot was real. When people say, what's the benefit of our relationship? There's one right there.
There's one right there. That is interesting. There's a lot of anger. I see frustration online that he even allowed the decoy flight to take off. That decoy that the original Air Force One even took off in the first place. People need to be reminded. As far as I understand, Secret Service makes these decisions. The president doesn't make that call. It's their job to keep him safe. What they say goes. They can even override what he wants in certain situations and say, you can't do that. I think people need to remember that.
Well, they do need to remember it. They also need to be grateful for it.
Yeah.
That's why we have a professional staff of highly trained people who guard the president.
Right.
And I'm glad they do, because I would hate for something to happen to this president right now. We need him. He's doing an effective job. And the least thing he needs to be worried about is his own safety.
Right.
The Secret Service is there to protect that and take care of it.
Well, let's talk about Iran. As the ambassador to Israel, this is, I'm sure, the biggest thing that you've had to deal with throughout this term. The biggest impact for Americans, of course, has been fuel price-based inflation because of this war, the price of fuel going up, driving up other costs here in the United States. Our energy secretary updating today. He says the 7-day average for oil leaving the Strait of Hormuz, getting out of the Persian Gulf, is currently up to almost 9 million barrels a day. He says when combined with the 5 to 7 million barrels leaving via these newly upgraded pipelines that move through the Gulf states and export facilities, he says total oil flows out of the Persian Gulf currently averaging around 15 million barrels every day. He said on Sunday alone they crossed more than 20 million, which is actually above the pre-conflict average. He's basically indicating that as much oil, or about as much oil, is getting out of the Persian Gulf as did before this war. That kind of reduces Iran's leverage in this moment, does it not?
Everything is getting realigned because of what Iran did.
Right.
But it's about time. Finally, we've got a president who recognizes that Iran is a threat to the United States. And it's not just a threat. They've carried out actions directly and through their proxies that have killed thousands of Americans. I don't know why a lot of Americans seem to be oblivious to the fact that this issue with Iran is not a Middle East issue. It is a global issue. Hezbollah is in 12 Western Hemisphere countries already. They're not there because they're opening snow cone stands in South America. They are there because they have an ultimate goal, and that's death to America. That's what they've been saying for 47 and a half years.
Yeah.
We need to take them seriously.
The president has indicated they're low-keying this war, that he wants to just, I guess that's just to sit back and starve out this regime, continue the economic decimation, maybe not be too active militarily and let this go. That could take a long time, right?
It could. But I think the president certainly is making the right move by putting real squeeze on them economically. He's not just proven that he was willing to bomb them, but he's also willing to bankrupt them. And if you add the two, the damage that was done to their military capacity, which was catastrophic, no matter what they say, the operation between the United States and Israel did an enormous level of damage. They're the weakest they have been since they took over the regime in 1979. The other piece of this is that the president understands that when you continually weaken them economically, then you create the atmosphere in which maybe their people decide that's enough,
right.
This regime has tortured us enough, and they overcome the regime themselves from within.
I have literally 10 seconds left. Do you think that's how this war ends, with just economic decimation of the regime and finally a collapse?
Let's hope so. Let's pray so.
Okay.
It would make the world a better place.
Mr. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rob. Great to see you, too.
Coming up next, a former producer for The View joins us with a shocking story of being pregnant during COVID and the warning that she received from a health official who was working with Tony Fauci. She's up next.
Greg Kelly over at Newsmax. The Newsmax people have been really, really terrific. Newsmax has been terrific.
President Trump is right. Millions are watching Newsmax and Greg Kelly. Tune in tonight.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
There are things you can do every day to take care of your brain. Exercising, eating well, getting plenty of sleep, staying mentally active, and staying connected with friends and family are all great for your brain. Prevagen can help supplement these good habits because it's made for your brain. Add Prevagen to your daily routine and give your brain the care it deserves. Prevagen, for your brain.
There's a reason the wealthy don't keep all their money in one place. We work hard our entire lives to build wealth for retirement. If your retirement dropped 30% tomorrow, would you be ready? Or would you just have to wait and hope it comes back? The last thing any of us wants is to watch our retirement accounts shrink every time Wall Street panics, the dollar drops, or global uncertainty rises. That's why so many successful Americans turn to gold to help protect their retirement. And Preserve Gold is the only precious metals company I trust and recommend. Let me be frank, gold is not for everybody. And I do not give financial advice, but I do urge you to get my free wealth protection guide from Preserve Gold and learn about a special offer to receive up to $20,000 in free gold and silver. Education is power.
Text Newsmax to 50505.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Our national security has been compromised.
INS targets could be released publicly.
You must assume they have your phone, assume they have everything.
I'm gonna find whoever was behind this, and I'm gonna kill them all. Move.
Steve wears Shady Rays. Shady Rays has styles for however you live. And if life takes them out, we've got your back. Because if your Shady Rays are scratched, broken, or lost, we'll replace them. Get Shady Rays. Get replacement protection.
Ever worry that you're drinking too much? Take back control with Or Health. Or Health provides access to medication proven to help. A daily pill to drink less, or to quit drinking altogether. Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
Welcome back. The first text messages from Fauci's government phone, Tony Fauci's government phone, released by Senators Rand Paul and Ron Johnson, revealed a private conversation where Fauci, of course, sounded vastly different than he did in public. January 2021, text exchange with Walensky and Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, indicated that Fauci was worried that the second dose of the COVID vaccine, the booster you got 3 weeks later, could lead to miscarriages in the first trimester. Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, responding, he's also been hearing concerns about an mRNA shot causing mutations in the developing fetus as well. None of that was ever made public, of course, because if they were honest, they wouldn't get the vaccine rates that they claimed that they would need, even though the vaccine didn't prevent the spread of the virus at all. Here's how Tony Fauci and Walensky sounded on TV when talking about that vaccine.
Thus far, and we got to be careful, but thus far, no red flags about that, about pregnant women.
It's really one of those things that's kind of not a close call. It really is pretty clear that pregnant women should get vaccinated.
Importantly, no safety concerns were observed for people vaccinated in the third trimester or safety concerns for their babies.
Daniela Greenbaum Davis is a former producer for The View. She was 6 months pregnant at the height of COVID and witnessed health officials working for Fauci tell the public one thing on her show, but say something very different to her in private. Daniela, good to have you on. Thanks so much. So tell us exactly your story here, what this health official was saying on television on your show and what she told you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Sure. It was a super crazy memory that I was recalling as all of these texts were breaking. I was really pregnant. I was visibly pregnant because I was 6 months along. And we had an official who had just come back from a White House briefing, had been with Fauci, come on the show, went on air. This was really early. If memory serves, it was either the very end of February or potentially very, very early March 2020. And she said on the show, you know, everything's fine, wash your hands. But like clearly the message from the White House had been just like, everyone stay calm. And then she turned to me during the commercial, seeing that I was extremely pregnant, and was like, you should go home immediately and not come back for a very, very, very long time. Now, Meghan McCain, who I was working for, was also pregnant, but nobody knew except me on the show. She was super, super early in her pregnancy. So Meghan's sitting in the chair, hearing this woman turn to me and say, like, leave immediately. And she is just like, how am I supposed to react to this? Because this person has just said one thing on air. Nobody knows I'm pregnant. So I'm hearing this message being given to my colleague who's pregnant, nobody realizing like this affects me too. It was one of those moments where you're just like, how is this real?
You know, it's something because, again, it's another example, just like the one I just read off, of them telling the public one thing, saying another, because they have an agenda. And the safety of the public doesn't really necessarily always come first. And the safety of individual people doesn't come first when you have a broad agenda. And that's exactly what we're talking about in this story, is that's the difference. And that's why we need transparency in healthcare. Danielle, I got to leave it there just because it's a heavy show, but we appreciate you coming on, telling us your story. Thanks so much. All right. Got a projection here, some breaking news. This is the South Carolina Senate primary, the seat for Lindsey Graham, the now gone Lindsey Graham. His sister, Darlene, is leading with 11% of the votes in. She will win this runoff, but I don't think she's going to get to 50%, so there's going to be a runoff, I should say, later in the month. She'll win the primary tonight, but she won't get to 50 is what the indication is. So there will be a runoff in the future. I assume that's top two is my assumption. We'll follow that race, of course. All right, coming up here after the break, the socialist wing leading the push to shut down data centers and help China win the AI race. That's up next.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finnerty, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
Today, kids are navigating an always-on world, consuming more information than ever before. Strengthening youth mental health starts with ensuring kids have strong digital and media literacy skills. Teaching students how to think critically about the content they see online helps them navigate digital spaces thoughtfully and intentionally. We need to teach media literacy in every school. Youth mental health is complex, but media literacy empowers educators and parents to keep kids safe.
Kibble. It's been the standard for decades, and it's failing our dogs. That's why we created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete. It's gently air-dried, locking in the nutrients, and the flavor dogs go wild for. Visit your local pet food retailer today.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted because you'll have power when you need it the most. Special financing and low monthly payment options are available. And if you call now, you will also receive a free 5-year warranty valued at over $500. Call or go online now to request your free quote. Power your life with Generac.
Want to see a ripple effect? It starts with one action. Get an Aquasana water filter and improve the quality of your water everywhere it flows.
One change, big difference.
Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
Yeah. 2 p.m. still works great. We'll put our best guy in the job.
You said you were the best guy.
Also the sales guy.
You should check out Capitus. You can get a fast business loan and hire some help.
Customer service, please hold. Loans are complicated.
Not with Capitus. It's easy to apply and there are no hidden fees.
I got this.
Stop waiting, start growing, get the funding you need at Capitus.com. You should probably call HR.
You're looking at HR.
LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and quickly alerts you to identity threats you could miss, like changes to your investment accounts, home title, and loans opened in your name, right on your phone. LifeLock. Join today.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Sienna. And we started Create after realizing that the incredible daily benefits of creatine could be for everyone, not just gym goers.
Our incredible tasting Create gummies were designed in partnership with top creatine scientists and researchers and help support daily energy levels, boost mental clarity, and build and retain muscle.
They come in several delicious flavors, and there's no measuring or messy powder, so it's simple to keep a routine.
Create is creatine for everyone.
Learn more at trycreate.co.
All right, so kind of an interesting story here. Socialist leader Bernie Sanders has been leading the charge to stop AI and data center development in this country, which is a move, of course, that'll hand China maybe the most critical victory it's ever had over the West. Sanders sending letters to the top AI platforms, Anthropic, OpenAI, Meta, demanding they pause AI development, threatening the Senate will step in if they refuse. But there is a twist here that kind of lets Bernie get off the hook for doing this. He's doing it for different reasons. But this was actually in response to OpenAI revealing its own AI models or agents actually went rogue. Their AI agents hacked into their own internal infrastructure. This is like out of a movie. Hacking another company as well called Hugging Face, which is a very large AI platform. The AI agents that have been created by these companies were communicating amongst themselves for months in private message boards to plan this hacking spree. So it's like creating the machine that's going to kill us all, right? Like something out of a movie. So let's talk about this for a second. Bret Swanson, along with E.J. Antoni, both from the Heritage Foundation, join us now. Bret, what do you make? The hack is one thing, Bernie trying to make these moves against us being the leader of this technology is something entirely different. Put them together for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Set the baseline. This is the AI build-out is the biggest infrastructure project in history over the next 5 years. We're going to invest $6 to $7 trillion in data centers and infrastructure. It's driving the economy right now. It's supporting hundreds of thousands of both high-tech and blue-collar jobs, electricians, construction, et cetera. And AI is going to propel the entire economy for the next couple decades. So, we just can't do anything that's, it's going to shoot ourselves in the foot, especially with the, China moving.
But then you also have this story about these AI, whatever the hell they are, like conspiring to make this move, EJ. And I think that's where the fear comes from. That kind of gives, I would say, Bernie Sanders some grace in this move that he's making, this kind of pro-China move that he's making.
Absolutely. Totally understand that. And I think what people need to realize is that the answer here is that you send a thief to catch a thief. What I'm getting at is the fact that if you look back at the history of something like locks, right? When you shifted away from mechanical locks to electrical locks, a lot of people thought, oh, this is great. There's no way to pick an electrical lock, right? You can't actually physically pick that lock the same way you can with a physically keyed lock. But then, of course, people figured out that there was a way to hack it digitally. We're just seeing the exact same thing play out all over again. Just now it's happening with AI. So it's the same process, different medium. And what we're seeing, sure enough, is that people are now using AI to build a better digital lock, if you will, in order to prevent the AI systems from actually hacking it. So the answer here is not stop all AI development. The answer is actually to allow the free market to work and allow AI to develop so that you can have somebody, come up with that thief to catch a thief, so to speak.
Certainly, the answer is not to let China control all of this and be in charge of this technology. I think we learned a lesson with COVID about how they manage some of these really critical things. I got to leave it there just based on time. Bret Swanson, EJ Antoni, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Major media headline to share with you tonight on who's covering the stories that you really care about. A Marquette University poll asking just that on the hot issues impacting the Supreme Court, like birthright citizenship and transgenders in women's sports. Newsmax was among the leaders in cable news, beating Fox, CNN, and others. As for covering the Supreme Court extensively, 48% of Newsmax viewers said we did just that, just behind MS Now at 51%. Only 36% of Fox viewers said that Fox covered the high court adequately. Newsmax led all media in transgender and women's sports coverage with 63%. Why? Because it's a really important subject, saying we covered it all a lot. Fox had just 50% of viewers saying the same. On birthright citizenship, a big issue, 58% of our viewers said we covered that substantially. Only 46% of Fox viewers said the same. Here at Newsmax, we're covering the issues that you care about, and we're not afraid of doing so. You can read more about all of this at Newsmax.com. Download the Newsmax app. 10 million Americans already have. Coming up here after the break, a judge blasting Mamdani's pied-à-terre tax plan.
This is the Bearskin Sunbeater hoodie, and when you wear this, you get UPF 50 sun protection without all the sunscreen mess.
Did we get your ears? Let's do your neck one more time.
The Sunbeater hoodie covers your neck, your arms, even the back of your hands. No more reapplying. Lightweight, breathable, dries out in minutes.
Need some help with your back?
The Bearskin Sunbeater hoodie. Buy two, get one free at sunhoodie.tv. No sunscreen bottles were harmed in the making of this advertisement. Please make sure to use sunscreen for your face. But for everywhere else, you can wear the Bearskin Sunbeater hoodie.
If you're about to replace your roof, stop. There's a solution about 80% less expensive. 9 out of 10 roofs can be saved by Roofmax. Guaranteed to extend the life of your current roof by 5 to 15 years at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax's deep penetrating power restores flexibility and water protection. Nobody wants to replace their roof. Restore it instead with Roofmax for 80% less.
Jordan's a new homeowner, and she thought she had a drainage problem.
There's water everywhere.
Turns out it was clogged gutters. It pools near your foundation and can seep into your home. But Leaf Filter keeps your gutters clog-free. Call or click today.
Anybody who's struggling with alcohol should try Or Health. Within a week, the cravings were completely gone. Or Health is safe, science-backed, and it works. I couldn't believe how easy it was. Alcohol doesn't run my life anymore.
Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked, and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
From senior to childcare to pets and more, the new Care.com makes it easier than ever to find the care you need. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at Care.com.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric that helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Going back time now for news from the left. Democrat women in Massachusetts revealing just how depraved they have become. Governor Maura Healey signing a new bill into law allowing abortions up until birth. No legal restrictions on doctors at all, surrounded by giggling and smiling and applauding women as she did so. Massachusetts is now the 10th blue state to remove gestational limits on abortion. Anytime before birth, any reason. Healey also pledged to keep abortion safe, legal, and accessible for as long as she is governor. Just so you know, the vast majority of abortions in this country are elective, usually for socioeconomic reasons. And approximately 4,100 abortions happen every year after the 21st week. And yes, most of those are elective. Next up, Joe Scarborough is furious the Trump administration is looking at the childhood vaccine schedule, potentially maybe to move it to something closer like Europe's, with fewer vaccines in the days immediately after the birth of a little baby. Take a listen.
This is so stupid. Yeah. And it's so dangerous. And it spreads so much disinformation that now parents, because of the lies, because of the conspiracy theories, now there are parents out there that are going to be frozen in place because they heard this coming out of the Oval Office and not do what parents have done for generations to protect their children from terrible diseases.
So the message is you can't make the vaccine schedule any safer because it might lead people to not trust vaccines. So we just have to accept this. You can't look into the causes of autism because it might make people scared of vaccines. So we just have to accept the fact that you've got 1 in 30 kids now are autistic, like 1 in 10 boys or something crazy like that are autistic. We just have to accept that because they might not get the measles shot if you look into it. Great idea. Next up, after a group of New York City homeowners filed a lawsuit against Mamdani's pied-à-terre tax, a judge has put a temporary pause on it. Staten Island Supreme Court Justice Wayne Ozzie, Staten Island, the one conservative borough of New York, issuing the temporary restraining order, also ordering Mamdani to take down the public doxing list of all the evil rich people that he wants to tax. Mamdani ain't happy.
You know, there are a few things more certain in New York City than death, taxes, and Randy Mastro filing a lawsuit against this administration. So we look forward to vigorously defend our city's position in court, and we are confident in our position. And that is a confidence coming from both the legality of the city's actions as well as the importance of a surcharge on secondary homes worth more than $5 million. A surcharge that will help fund safer streets, that will help fund stronger schools, and it will help fund the city that New Yorkers deserve.
Yeah, because we have a revenue problem here. We don't bring in enough tax money in New York City. We just need just a little bit more, and then we can have all these nice things, right, Mamdani? Says he asked if he regrets the rollout. He did not answer that. The president blasting the pied-à-terre tax on Truth Social, calling it a dangerous political experiment in New York that will destroy what was once a great city and state. And finally, in this news from the left, how many times have you heard these crazy anti-Israel lefties scream about the genocide in Gaza, the ongoing genocide in Gaza? Well, with that, we're going to give you a little beach video. Gaza Beach today. Look like a genocide to you? Looks like a pretty bad one to me. I don't know. I see a lot of people alive enjoying themselves. Coming up, another socialist primary tonight in Wisconsin. Polls soon to close.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finnerty, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
Hi, I'm Sally with SellMyPolicy.com, the fast concierge service here to help you sell your life insurance policy for cash now. Our experienced team makes it fast and easy for you to get your offer. Use the money however you want. John sold his policy for $590,000 in cash for health care. And Cheryl sold her policy for $90,000 in cash and used it to supplement her retirement income. If you are over 65 with a life insurance policy of $100,000 of coverage up to $50 million of coverage, then you may qualify. With Sell My Policy, some people choose to sell all or just part of their policy so they can access cash now while also keeping coverage in place for their loved ones. Plus, you'll get paid fast. Trusted by seniors, there's no obligation to sell. Find out what your policy is worth today.
It's fast and free with Sell My Policy.
Talk with a policy expert now to see how much cash you could receive. Call 800-910-2274 or visit sellmypolicy.com.
It's me, Ricky. You know me. You grew up with me. I'm 56 and a half years of age. I am using this right here, Fatty 15, to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient in Fatty 15 has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. And it is a game changer for your overall vitality. I urge you to try Fatty 15. Give your cells what they need and give yourself a chance with more time.
When I look at this picture, I feel failure. I've tried keto, I've tried fasting. I needed to do something. I came across LifeMD, down 182 pounds in 14 months. This is the best decision in my entire life.
Get Zepbound, Wegovy, and the new Wegovy pill at joinlifemd.com.
Information. Truth. Is power. Is freedom. Is money. Is health. Is Newsmax. Millions watch it. So can you. Newsmax is real news for real people.
I've been a Marine Corps attack pilot, a White House correspondent, and a wartime journalist. But my biggest responsibility is finding the truth in this chaotic, deceptive environment.
Watch Greg Kelly Reports, only on Newsmax.
All right, so the polls close in 1 hour in the state of Wisconsin. It's another socialist primary here in this country. Francesca Hong right there looking to be the next governor of Wisconsin. Rob Finnerty joins us now. Wisconsin with an angry Asian communist in charge. That's certainly a vision, right?
Well, look, here we are. All these races are their polls are going to close very soon. We're covering all of this on Finnerty.
But yet again, we are going to learn more about this Democrat Party tonight, which is pretty unbelievable what's happened over the last several weeks.
Exactly right.
With this party. Rob Schmitt, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. Take it away.
Finity starts right now.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.